This is Melissa Shaw with Our Generation, where we educate, empower, and inspire. And I am super excited about my guest today. She is going to bring a wealth of knowledge, and she's also a special guest at the upcoming R&R event. So
Hey.
make sure y'all check that event out. It's April the 13th here at P30 from 3 to 6. If you attended the last one, you know how dope it was. We've added some different elements to it. So definitely follow me on social media, Our Generation 19 on Instagram and Melissa Shaw on Facebook. And then check out my website, projectourgeneration.org. You'll be able to see what we're doing there. And so we'll just get into it. So welcome.
Hi. I'm adding you on
Oh,
Facebook.
see, thank you.
Because
Yeah,
I was
so we
not
met
following.
at a event. Was it the stakeholders committee or no? Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, because we did that really weird exercise
I
at the end. What was
we was I don't forgot,
like
but we was
flying in the
standing on
universe?
paper.
Like I don't know what it was. I was like, what are we doing?
Yep, that's
And
where we
we
met.
just followed. We just went on with it, didn't we?
Look, I was just being obedient
Right.
to what the goal was.
Yep. Yep. So that's how we met, and I was
Mhm.
very intrigued by what you did, and I just knew that we would had to work on something together. And so
Yeah.
I'm super excited and appreciative that you're going to come be our guest
I'm
speaker.
excited.
So yeah, just tell the people a little bit about you, your name, kind of where you're from, some
Mhm.
background.
Yes. So I am I looking at you?
You
Or am I
can look.
looking at
It's whichever you want.
Oh, okay. So my name is Janisha, and I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. Um, I've been here in Indiana for it'll be 8 years
Okay.
in this coming July. And so when I moved here, I was actually a massage therapist for 8 years.
Okay.
And then I started actually pursuing what I feel like was my purpose. Once I came here, new environment. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like God was doing like a new thing in me and kind of
Mm,
removing me from what I was familiar with
mm,
and kind of allowing me to stretch. And so, even though that was really, really scary,
yeah.
um, it just allowed me to birth out what I'm doing now, which is the coaching full time.
Nice.
Yep.
So how did you navigate into? Was you doing any other type of coaching, or does the massage therapy kind of made you see that there was a need just based on the conversations? And how did you come about? And what kind of coach are you? Because
Hmm.
it's different
Yes.
from what normal people think coaches. So just explain it what that is.
Yes. So I'm an identity coach. And so I focus mainly on identity. So I help others heal specifically from childhood trauma in order for them to become secure in who they are. And so I use a combination of um, mental health and biblical principles in order to accomplish that.
Okay.
Yep.
So what made you want to do the identity coaching?
Um, I would say my own pain.
Mm,
That was the birth of it. For a long time, I knew that I didn't want. At first, it was my own personal journey, and it was me not knowing who I am. It was, just everything that comes with not knowing who you are,
mm-hmm,
fear, trauma, low self-esteem, not seeing yourself for real.
mm-hmm.
And so I started going through mental health counseling for myself, and that was kind of the turning point
Mm.
because I was actually able to see through going through the counseling that all of the things I thought I was never really me.
Yeah. And I think we talked when I asked you to do the be a special guest um that I just well, it hasn't been recent, but I read the Four Agreements.
Hmm.
You've read that, right?
Mm-mm.
Oh my goodness, you've got to read that book
Okay.
because it talks about how we are when we're born into our family, we are pre-create like predestined to be a certain way because
Yes.
of our environments,
Yes.
traditions,
Yep.
and religion.
Yep.
And as you grow up, you kind of do this, and
Mhm.
then at some point in your life, and it's different for everybody,
Yeah.
you're like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
I don't even like eating that, or I don't even like doing that,
Yeah.
or was this relationship that I had with God, was it even my own,
Yep.
or was it just what I was told to do or
Yep.
believe?
Yep.
So yeah, so that book talks about how we are kind of. So
You
you
have
should
to
read
send me
that.
that.
Yeah, I'll get you that book. Yeah, it's a really dope book, but it's
Okay.
kind of made me think of what you said.
Yeah,
In
it's
that you didn't
it,
have an identity, or you did, but it wasn't yours.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was.
Mhm.
And so once I seen that, hey, this actually works, um, I wanted to combine. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I just didn't know at the moment what platform or what outlet I was going to create and do it and use it in.
Mhm.
But once I started seeing my own transformation, I'm like, listen, every person who's willing to go through this process, I want to help them go through that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the birth of it. And once I knew that and I started seeing my own transformation, I just started doing research and looking at different, I guess, avenues to what would best fit or what would be the best platform. And I came across life coaching and I was like, that's perfect because I don't have to compromise anything to
Mhm.
do it, especially my faith because that's really important to me. So I didn't have to compromise my faith. Um, and it was goal oriented. And I think the difference between a mental health counselor and a life coach is um, a mental health counselor, that is something that you can come to at any stage of your life.
Mhm.
You can continuously get it in
Mhm.
every stage of your life. I think with life coaching specifically, it's more goal oriented. And so
Mhm.
you're not just coming I'm not just coming to hear you talk or to vent or um, to help you come to a space.
Mhm.
It's like we have a goal. I'm very engaged. I'm very accessible. I'm literally helping you navigate through it, you know,
Mhm.
navigate through whatever it is that's preventing you from showing up authentically. And so, because it was goal oriented, I'm like, yes, because I don't want anyone coming to me if all you want to do um, is vent.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, sometimes that comes with it, but at the end of the day, are you changing? Are you
Mhm.
transforming?
Mhm. So you
Um,
have an element of, I'm gonna hold you accountable.
absolutely,
Like, you're not coming and paying this money for us to just chit chat. Like,
absolutely,
we're going to get some things
yes,
accomplished, and that's important
yes,
because there's a lot of that other stuff happens a lot, and then you go to these and you're like, I'm still doing the same thing.
yeah, yeah, and you know, different people they process it differently, but when you do the work, sooner or later you're going to things is going to start to shift and change because you're putting in the work to do it.
Mhm.
Um, and we're not just going over these concepts, but I'm helping you to apply the concepts to day to day life so that you can see the transformation within yourself.
And I think that's huge because
Yeah.
we get bombarded with so much information, but very rarely do we say, okay,
Let
this
me.
is how you can execute it. And I'm actually reading a book. It's called Four Disciplines of Execution. And
Mm,
in the first chapter, it talked about how we can strategize all day,
mm-hmm,
but what we lack doing is executing it.
mm,
And that's across the board because even in schools,
yeah.
we're taught strategy. We're not taught how to execute it. So I love that you say this is what you can do in your everyday life. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. Um, and so um, I take each person through a curriculum or through a 7 stage process. And so the process that I went through, um, I kind of combined the mental health pieces that I learned and I combined the biblical aspects through my faith, both of those that helped me to be able to process this stuff but actually execute it in order to transform. And so I just created the curriculum based on that process.
Mm.
Um,
So how important was it for you to keep the biblical part of it?
very, I think, um, I can't know who I am without knowing God.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you believe, right? And before I came to before I got mental health counseling, um, my first level of transformation was when I encountered God,
Mm-hmm.
right? Me getting to know God and starting that journey, that was when I found out that, oh, I actually don't know who I am.
Right.
It was knowing him that made me realize, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's what started that journey was
Mm-hmm.
him. But I think oftentimes when you talk about faith, especially Christianity, that there can be a level of over spiritualizing things
Mm-hmm.
where it's like I'm going to just only do these religious practices and that's what's going to cause me to change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, you're praying a lot and you're going to church, but what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How are you applying? Like we said, how are you seeing change? And for a long time, you know how you will hear people say, pray about it,
Mm-hmm.
and they give these annoying generalized statements. Um, and I found myself praying and going to church and um, affirming all of these beautiful sayings or affirmations right over myself. But at the end of the day, nothing on the inside was changing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went through that cycle for a long time until I came across doing the mental health counseling for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so once I was able to work through some of that stuff, then what God was trying to show me about me started to click. It made sense. But I couldn't believe what he was saying because there was all of this underneath stuff that I haven't even
Mm-hmm.
confronted, didn't even know I had, and definitely didn't know how to navigate and heal through it. Um, and so I'm just like, man, faith is a big part of that journey. Um, but I think a lot of us isn't open to it or don't really think that it does work,
Mm-hmm.
um, because of all of the unconfronted things that is happening
Mm-hmm.
that causes you to not even be open to something higher than yourself.
Do you think sometimes because religion plays such a role in the early childhood of you just do it because I say do it, so
Mhm.
you really don't develop that personal relationship?
Mhm.
I know for me, I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, and I now that I'm an adult, and I tell my mom like I got baptized when I was 12,
Okay.
and I was like, could I have said no?
Mm.
And she
Mhm.
was like, well, yeah, it's a free will, but no, it wasn't. If I would have said no, what would have been your reaction?
Yeah.
And she really didn't have an answer
Mm.
because that's what you do. You know, dad was an elder in the congregation, like they held
Mhm.
positions, and
Mhm.
so what do you mean your daughter's not about to be baptized? Like we're an
Mm.
example, and there was a lot of pressure. But
Wow.
I didn't realize that until I got older and got married, and then kind of it hit me like I was living this life of I was playing a character. And I think we talked about that before. Like I felt like I was in this movie.
Excuse me.
And then I don't, it was like probably 11 years ago, 12 years ago, like it hit me like, wait
Mm.
a minute.
Mhm.
But it almost ceased my relationship with God
Yeah.
because it was so traumatic
Yeah. I
that it
can.
was like I don't even know what to do. I believe in a higher power, but
Mhm.
I don't even know like how to even navigate because it was so
So much.
pushed and so
Yeah.
it was so intense.
Yeah.
And so I feel like sometimes people struggle with that too. Like,
Yeah.
they're kind of you're almost kind of in limbo. Like obviously I know there's something out there greater than us.
Mhm.
But how do I personally connect
Right.
with that? And so I've been on a spiritual journey and just really tapping into what makes me feel, how do I respond to the things.
Mhm.
just really being open and not being closed minded, of how I'm feeling. Like, oh no, I can't feel that way because that's not according to the Bible, not
Mm-mm.
not even thinking that. So it's been a journey. I'm
Yeah.
still on that. I probably don't pray as much as I should
Mhm.
because I struggle with talking. So it's just. So I'm glad that you brought up, about the faith because I feel like there is a lot of people sometimes have trauma when it comes to religion.
I agree. I agree. And
Hmm.
it's as far as I think you asked, I forgot the question you asked, but I know that you were talking about um I guess how parents introduce their kids to
Hmm.
faith. I think when you're trying to navigate a child to understand faith, whether that's passing along the faith that you have, I think it's a good thing to pass it down. But I think once they come of age, they have to make the choice.
Hmm.
Like whether that's once they come to a level of they understand, like you said, you were 12, right? Like sitting down with your child and talking to them about it and explaining it. Um,
And it was a whole process. I had to go through this book. Like it was,
that's a lot.
it was deep.
That's
It
a
was
lot.
deep.
That's a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think once your child come to age, explaining it, giving us the choice to say if this
Hmm.
is where I want to, if this is what I believe. But
Hmm.
I think depending on the age, I'm rearing you to some kind of substance.
Hmm.
So at a certain age, no, you don't have a choice because
Hmm.
I'm trying to show you where how to be as a
Hmm.
person.
Yeah.
But once you come to age, I do think you should have a choice.
Hmm.
I think it can be complicated, and I do understand of it just being like forced and like I don't have a choice, and that's not love.
Hmm.
Love give options. Love give choices.
Hmm.
You have the choice to not do it. You have the
Hmm.
choice to not believe. And I still love you anyway,
Yeah.
right? And
No, for real,
so
absolutely.
I think if it was more approached that way,
Hmm. And it's funny. So my dad had that mentality,
okay,
but my mother didn't. And
okay,
so I always got it from my dad. Like when he passed, one of the things that I had wrote in his obituary was, no matter the decisions I made, and no matter where he agreed with them or not, his love never changed.
yes,
It never felt any different, and that's huge for me.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yay,
You know,
yes.
my mom was more conditional, but that's just a whole. We ain't got time for all that. I'm definitely going to book a session. You be like, I don't even want to hear none of it. Go get a counselor. No, just,
Mm-mm.
that's not what I do. No,
No,
but you talked about
that's
your curriculum
good.
in the 7 stages. So can
Hmm.
you just briefly
Hmm.
go over kind of what that looks like, or
Yes,
at least what the stages are?
yes. So there's 7 stages. The first stage is awareness, and with the awareness stage, that is just helping others become aware of their thought life, um, becoming aware of it, um, accepting it,
Mm,
and owning it.
mm, that's huge.
Right. And so,
That's real. Yeah.
um, yeah, just becoming aware of that. Um, because when they come, it's like, um, are you as aware as you think you are?
Mm,
Um, and have you accepted the things that you think? Not shaming or condemning yourself for what you think, but accepting it. That
mm,
that is your reality. That is your truth right now in this moment.
mm,
And then can you own that truth?
mm,
That yes, you do feel insecure, or you feel you are insecure. Can
mhm,
you take ownership that that is your feelings?
mm,
Um, and so that's the first stage. The second stage is the heaviest stage that we go through because we're going back to your upbringing and your childhood, um, and trying to understand. Um, because identity is shaped in how we perceived we were loved,
Mm.
right? Not how you were loved, how you perceived you were loved. It's
Mm.
two different realities. Um, we go back to your relationship with your mom, your relationship with your dad, giving you a foundational roles of what a mother and what a father gives. What do you feel like you received, and what do you feel like you did not? And whatever you did not receive, um, I help them pull out or pull up what was defined or what do you think was communicated to you about who you are based on how you were loved,
Mm.
um, in those different components. And so we find and discover a lot of different roots and a lot of definitions or narratives that started to create themselves because of that.
Mm.
Um, and so we go over that. We go over what's called mother and father wounds to help them identify where they are specifically wounded. And then we go over fear.
Mm.
So helping them become aware of how fear speaks to them specifically, and then how to begin to overcome fear. So that's all in the second stage. And that's why I say it's the heaviest because we pulling up a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
The third stage is healing. So now, how do we heal from these wounds? We just
Right. That we just dug up some dirt,
yes,
the dead bones in the backyard.
close the wound up, right? How do we heal? What does healing look like day to day? And just overall, how to live a healing life. Um, Fourth stage is secured identity. So now that we've learned what healing looks like, let's redefine who you are outside of the fear, outside of the trauma,
Mm.
outside of the experiences. Who are you now?
Right, because you've lived that life for so long.
Yeah,
You don't know what that looks like. That's deep.
yeah. It's like
Mm-hmm.
let's redefine who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the fifth stage is identity development, and that's just teaching you now that you know who you are, how do you begin to believe it?
Mm.
How do you begin to actually show up now as what you say you are?
Mm.
Because we can say a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
but are you showing up that way?
Yeah, that's switching that self-talk of how we
Mhm.
talk to ourselves. Like,
Mhm.
do you believe what you're saying?
Yeah.
You could say it all day, but if you don't believe it and feel it, like it's not going to come out that way.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
it takes a process to come into belief of that.
Yeah.
It takes it takes a process for you to actually begin to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's talked about a lot either.
Hi.
I don't think that's talked about a lot either.
Yeah.
Um, it's not just this instantaneous thing where you instantly come into agreement with it now because you know it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, I have to work on myself to get to the space to come into agreement with it.
Yeah.
And that takes mental work.
Hence the four agreements. So you got, I'm getting you that book.
I have to, if you don't get it, I have to
Oh
get
no,
it.
I'm getting it. I'm gonna order it today. I
Because
feel
I
like
would
I need to
love,
just carry the books with me because here lately, like every conversation I have, it
uh-huh.
makes me think of it, and nobody's read it, and I'm like, oh no, you got to read that book. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I need to get that. And I love to read, and I love
mm,
physical copies.
me too.
I could do
I'll do
audio,
audio, yeah, but I prefer the
but
physical.
I perceive information through
Yeah.
reading. Yeah. Um, the last two stages is spiritual development, and so that's just teaching you the basics of faith, um, and having a conversation about where 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 is your spiritual journey? Do
Mm,
you even have one?
right.
What do you believe about God? Who do you think God is?
Mm,
Right? So, kind of just going over those fundamental things. And so, I specifically go over explaining who is God, what is prayer, how do you pray, how do you hear God, or how does God speak to you? Um, And if they're open to it, let's teach you how to actually begin to hear God. Um, what is worship? How do you worship? What is the meaning of it? Do you want to do it? If so, let's go over how,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then um, what is the word of God? How do you study the word of God, right? So just fundamental things to help people understand just the basics. It don't have to be that deep, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
No,
It's
for real.
just we
Like I've
make it
read the whole
more
Bible probably a
complicated.
couple times,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like it was just information.
Right.
Now that I think back, it maybe penetrated, but not deep enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was more
So
that superficial.
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
um, it's definitely a way to read it. And I don't think that that's talked about either.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last stage we go through is it's called pursuing purpose. Pursuing purpose and repurposing pain.
Mm.
And so with repurposing pain, I'm just showing them based on their story, based on their most painful moments and experiences. How can you turn that into something beautiful?
Mm.
Because it was not meant for it to just happen to you and you be a victim of that experience. It was meant to teach you something. It was meant to help be a solution to somebody else's problem. It
Mm-hmm.
was meant to be turned into something gold. So let's figure out how can we turn that into something beautiful? Um, and then pursuing purpose, helping them to understand where they're gifted, where they're talented, what comes natural to them. Um, and I go over like these series of questions um, that just help people think about what am I created and called to do?
Because we all have a purpose. We're
Yes,
not just here just to
everyone.
take up space.
No. What
And
is your
people live like
purpose?
that. They live like they're just here just to live the life and that's it. And that's never been good enough for me.
Mm,
Like I've always wanted to have an impact. Like I've always knew that there was something that I was supposed to be doing.
yeah.
But it's just finding out what that is.
Right.
So I love what you do because I think it's so important, even with young people, to even being able to tap into that at that early age because
Man.
that can be so powerful for them. Like they could be put in a better position than we was
Yeah.
having that knowledge and having those tools. So I commend you on what you do. I think it's amazing. Never heard of an identity coach. So I'm so excited to spread this and let people know that it exists.
Yeah.
And you have such a calming spirit when you talk about it, and it's just you very relatable, and you like it's like okay, I could do this. Like it can sound intimidating,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't make it that way. So
Thank
thank you for
you.
that. And I cannot wait till the 13th. Even
Yes.
more so now that we talk. Like
I
they're
know.
in for a treat. And there's gonna be a lot of young ones there. I'm purposely
Mm.
trying to get them there.
Okay.
So 20s, 30s, like
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Because I feel it's important. They need to experience that, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be a dope experience. So,
Yeah.
the one question I did want to ask
Mm-hmm.
you, so do you think that you're ever completely healed?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I asked my thought too, but I was like, let me ask, see what you think. Okay, why do you say that?
Absolutely not. Um, because I don't think it's a place of arrival
Mm,
or a destination or this box we have in our head
mm,
that if I just get here, then I'm done.
mm.
Um, I'll always be healing. Um, to 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 be healed means that you're complete and you're whole. Um, and if someone is fully whole and fully complete, I would like to meet them.
Right, for real. So give me the sauce. What did you do? I need a blueprint.
I would like to meet them,
Yeah.
but I don't think, and I think this is more of the foundation of my faith. I don't think we're healed until we leave this earthly realm. Um, God talks a lot about us becoming new. or
Mm,
becoming fully mature,
mm-hmm.
or becoming whole and complete. But in the context that he says that, it's always in reference to when we leave here.
Yeah.
And so we will always be growing, always learning, always
Mm-hmm.
unlearning, always becoming. It's
Mm-hmm.
like every time I learn something new, I'm being reshaped. It's like
Mm.
I'm always becoming and growing into another level or another version of myself.
Yeah, it's like you continue to evolve. And
Yes.
people that say they don't want to change, those are
Mm.
people I stay away from. Because you would do, or when people say, "Oh, you're not the same person," and they say it in a, you probably heard it. People say, "Oh, you're not
Mhm.
the same person," but that's not a bad thing. You
Mhm.
shouldn't want me to be the same. You shouldn't be want to be the same. You should want to
Yeah.
be different. Like I'm different from what I am last year, and again,
Right.
based on my experiences, based on whatever situations that I've been, lessons that I've learned, losses that I've taken. It feels like
Yeah.
losses, but what did I learn from that? That's going to help
Yeah.
me to be able to be more complete, to be able to show up at that moment of what I need to show up as.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's like, no, the work is never done.
Yeah.
Um, I have someone ask me before, like, how do you know, at least how do you know you're healing? Not saying that you are completely healed. Um, or how, yeah, just how do you know you're healing? And I told her that you know you're healing, you know that you're transforming when you can exist with the fears, with the pain,
Mm.
with the wounds, and it
Hmm.
not and you not be defined by it or enslaved by it anymore.
Mm. That's, yeah, that's powerful.
So it don't mean that it doesn't mean that that stuff has left.
Hmm.
My wounds are still here.
Hmm.
Fears still come up,
Hmm.
right? All that stuff is
Mm.
still there.
Mm.
And healing doesn't mean that it's exempt, that it's left, that
Yeah.
it's erased, but it's healing has allowed me to look at it differently now.
Yeah.
Um, and I can exist with it and not be controlled by it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So, what do you do? You have whole groups, don't you? Or you,
Um,
so tell a little bit about your work. Like, how can they find you? Do you do individual? Do you do
mhm.
group? Kind of what does that look like?
So I do one-on-ones, um, and that's with me, and the person, and we do, that's about a 3-month journey where we meet once a week for about an hour. Um, and then I also do group coaching. Group coaching, I have a 10-week program, and that is you doing the same process, the same journey, but just with other women or with other people. Um, and so it's the same curriculum, but it's also um, both are for an hour, and we meet once a week as well. So the one-on-ones is a longer, in-depth process. The
Hmm.
coaching is more of a community-based. You kind of wanting to go on this journey with other people to feel
Mm.
supported. Um, so I do the one-on-ones, the group coaching. I also do customized group coaching for like organizations, churches, or businesses. So for an example, if a business or organization is in alignment with what I'm trying to do and they want their people to experience going through that cohort or going through that thing, then I customize the group based on
Nice.
what they're trying to accomplish. And so I do those, and I also do work um, once a quarter workshops, and the workshops is just for people to test it out, um, to get their feet wet a little bit,
Hmm.
to experience it before committing to anything, and just to see how it is.
Yeah. Do you do anything here?
Yep, I do the workshops here once a quarter.
Nice.
Um,
Have you done them? Because I haven't. Am I not on the mailing list?
Actually, this year, this new year, a lot of things has been changing, so I haven't done them this year.
Okay.
I did them 2 years straight, and then this year,
Okay.
I just started um, changing how I want to do it.
Yeah.
And so I can keep you posted
Please
on
do. Please
the
do.
workshops.
Yeah.
But my website is www.janishabessiake.com. Um, I am on social media on Facebook and Instagram, same name, Janisha Bessiake.
Nice.
Yeah,
What was my? Oh, so how important it is for entrepreneurs to do this? One last thought. Leave them with that.
man. I was just like, as an entrepreneur myself, um, how can you serve someone or how can you lead someone in whatever it is that you're selling and whatever it is that you're doing when you don't know who you are?
Mm.
It's like, how can you show up full? How can you show up whole? How can you show up confident? Right? How can you convince me to get what you have
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know who you are? Um, and we can fake it and fake like we're confident and fake like we're,
Yeah.
but at some point, that's going to get draining. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think it's very important to go through this process as an entrepreneur because
You want to jump in on her podcast? You all right? You all right? That's Rob Booker, by the way.
I know who he
No,
is.
I'm telling the people, so they
Oh.
wonder who I'm talking to. Which I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, so go check it out. His
Did
interview.
you?
Yeah, him and his
Uh,
sister.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's very important um, because I think just as an entrepreneur, you have to lead yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think entrepreneurship reveals what you are not, or it
Mm,
reveals where you are lacking.
absolutely.
Like my rejection come up sometimes in entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
My wounds come up sometimes, my doubts come up sometimes, my fears. And it's like,
Mm,
if you don't deal with those things, it
yeah.
will eat you alive.
Yeah. And your business is only going to go so far. You're always going to hit that wall.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
only going to go or elevate based on where you are.
Yeah. That's huge.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's banking on you.
Yeah. No, for real. Yeah. So if you out here floundering, trying to make it in the water,
Man,
like your
this
business is not gonna
this
make
has
it.
matured me and has
Yeah.
grown me a lot.
And sometimes that's why we aren't at certain levels in our business that we want to be at because we're not the person that can be there.
Mm,
Like I was telling this young guy that I mentor, like sometimes you can get discouraged and feel like, well, why are look at people, why are they doing this or why am I
excuse
not
me.
at putting all this work in? Yeah, but if God were to give it to you now,
Mm, will not
would
be
you
ready.
would you fumble it?
Yeah,
Would you be able? Are you the person that can handle the stress and the responsibility?
yeah,
And so when you look at it from that way, you're like, oh no, I cannot. Okay, well, like you, that's when you need to start doing that work so you can become that person.
right.
Hmm.
And just let it build. Like,
Yeah.
take your time.
Hmm.
Go at your own pace.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Well, I love. This has been great.
Yes,
Thank
this
you.
was good.
Thank you so much for blessing us with your knowledge and your passion and your calm spirit. I'm ready to take a nap. You're so relaxing. And I love your laugh, by the way. But
Thank
no, yeah. So
you.
definitely come April 13th to check her
Yes.
out.
Yes.
because I know she got something special.
Yes. It's gonna be really good.
Yep, yep. So I'm excited. Well, so this has been Our Generation with Melissa Shaw, where we educate, empower, and inspire. And I hope that you was educated on why it's important to focus on our identity and been empowered to do something, and in turn, you can inspire other ones. So we will see you next time. Not gonna work. Not gonna work.